Hello, welcome back. Today I want to talk about what's ARBA. Um, I'm assuming since you're watching this video and you kind of looked it up, you kind of know what ARBA is, or at least you know the general basis of you show bunnies, which, by the way, I have Steph today out. This is my Holland Lop doe. I just brought her out so that way you can look at a bunny instead of just listening to me talk. Or at least instead of watching me talk. You can listen. You're obviously here to listen. But I want to talk about what is ARBA. So ARBA stands for American Rabbit Breeders Association. It is an association that is through every state in the United States, including Hawaii. I've heard that there aren't a lot of shows in Hawaii just because it's an island, not much activity, and it's, I'm assuming, more difficult to get rabbits shipped there because you'd have to fly them in. But that's beside the point. ARBA, like I said, is an American Rabbit Breeders Association, and what we do is we work to better the breed. So currently there are 50 breeds in the United States, and each breeder kind of picks a breed, and your overall goal is to better the breed. So for instance, she was bred by an amazing breeder. I look at her body type and her bone and her head and everything else that is labeled in the standard of perfection that ARBA provides, which if you are a new breeder or if you just want to research a breed you want to get, whether you're hesitant on breeding or not, you should get the SOP, which is the standard of perfection. You can purchase it through ARBA. There are quite a few other places that sell it as well, but I would recommend just buying it straight from ARBA so that way you don't have to do research trying to find a different place. And all you have to Google is ARBA shop, and it should take you straight there. And then obviously you just look up the SOP. And that's going to give you the standard for all the breeds of rabbits. What you want to look for in body type, what you want to look for in head, bone, ear thickness, how much fur should be on the ear, blah, blah, blah. And not all that's going to make sense to you, which is completely understandable because reading it in the SOP saying, oh, the peak should be over the hip, should round smoothly to the table. There's a bunch of little vocabulary words that even I forget sometimes, and I read through it and I'm like, what? Another good thing to do when you're first starting out, again, even if you're hesitant, you don't really know if you want to or not, it just sounds interesting. Find a mentor, which means either find them through online. So I find most of the people that I talk to through Facebook. Another way to do it is go to a show. You don't have to bring a bunny. It's free. You don't have to pay anything to just walk in the door. Find a mentor at the show. Ask them questions. If you're interested in a breed, ask the breeders questions. Most breeders at shows are thrilled to help you out. They are happy if you're asking them questions about their breed, what their temperament is, what colors they come in that are recognized, how do you show them, how do you pose them, what if you're getting more into the breeding side, how do I breed, what's the gestation period, what should I be looking out for, what does hippo mean, what does double dwarf mean when I get it. Just a bunch of small things that you don't even think about until you're asking a breeder or until you find it out yourself or read it online and you're just like, what is this? Why did this happen? And most breeders are always happy to help out, give a helping hand. But ARBA, so let's say you did your research, you got the breed you think you're really excited about, or you just have a pet bunny that you know is purebred, because every rabbit that you show must be purebred and resemble the standard somewhat. A little tip before getting to that, when buying, there's a lot of controversy out there on this, and some people aren't going to agree with me, some people are going to agree strongly with me. Shoot for a pedigreed rabbit. It's a lot easier. It's going to make your life just that much easier instead of trying to build your own pedigree. It is easy to build your own pedigree because obviously it's just, 4 generations of rabbits. So you breed, it'd take almost, I'd say, between 2 to 4 years, depending on the breed you have. Some breeds are really easy to breed, and then others aren't. So for instance, my Britannia Petites, it took me a year to breed my doe. A whole year. So obviously that generation would be much more difficult to build my own pedigree. But beside the point, there's a lot of controversy out there because the biggest argument is that it's just a sheet of paper. What does it mean? Why is that important? It's just a sheet of paper. As long as I know my animal is somewhat forming to the standard, why do I care? And the biggest thing is if you're trying to sell your animals to other breeders, a lot of breeders won't buy from you if you don't have pedigrees because they're worried that the biggest worry is color. So for some breeds, you don't want to cross certain colors or else you can get unrecognized colors that will haunt you further down on the line. And then they spend $100 on your rabbit and they're like, great, I can't use this anymore because they're all going to carry shaded and I don't want shaded in my lines. They're all going to carry pointed whatever, and I don't want that in my lines. And then they're upset. So a lot of breeders just try to avoid that in general, including myself. I try very hard not to buy unpedigreed animals because unless I know that they're from really good breeders and I personally know the breeder. But yeah, so I would recommend shooting for a pedigreed rabbit if you are able to. Which again, if you go to a show and purchase from there or find a breeder and purchase from them somewhat down the line, they're more than likely just going to sell you a rabbit with a pedigree. But let's say you have your bunny, you've done your research, you've already been to a show or two possibly, if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to dive head first, you can definitely go to a show and just watch. Figure out what's going on, how the show works. But let's say you're just diving straight in and you have your bunny or two, however many you chose to buy. You entered them, which you can find the entry catalogs at the ARBA website in their little show tab. You can pick your state and then it's going to show you by town in your state where the shows are and what dates. Another way you can find them is going to the Facebook groups. So for instance, I do North Idaho RBA, I think it is. Northern Idaho Rabbit Breeders. I don't remember what the group is called, but they typically post shows there. Or you can just make a little post yourself and say, hey, when's the next bunny show? Is the catalog out yet? Who do I contact for information? And that's another way you could go, and people are happy to help. I know I've done that many times because I go on the ARBA website and it's not up yet, and I'm like, The show's in like 2 weeks. It should probably be on the website by now. But yeah, so that's another way. Let's say you entered all your bunnies that you wanted to enter, which typically there is show A, show B, and possibly a show C. Depends. Now, if you are a youth, and that means 18 years or younger, you can also enter into the youth group, which you don't have to if you don't want to. If you say, I'm only 12 years old, but I want to be an open, go right on ahead. If your kid or you yourself, whomever is watching, whether it be the parent or the kid, you definitely can. Now, obviously, if you're over 18 years old, you can't compete with youth. And ARBA, for parents and kids who are kind of hesitant on it because they're worried that it's not going to be very kid-friendly, big competitors and stuff like that, people who have done this for 20 plus years, don't worry about it. ARBA is super kid-friendly, and we recommend and we really push for youth to come and join, because that's the only way that this hobby is going to continue, is if we get youth involved and we make youth activities. So for instance, my rabbit club that I do, that I'm not technically a part of, but I show with that rabbit club, they do a lot of youth activities, for instance, breed ID. So they leave this bunny in a cage and they say, what breed is it? And the kids get to guess. So they have their SOP and they're scrolling through trying to find out which breed it is out of the 50 breeds that we have. And then they say, oh, it's a Holland Lop. Because there's only 5 breeds of Lops, and this is what fits it. Fits this bunny in particular. And so that's a lot of fun for the kids. It's like $1, and then you get a $5 reward if you guess all the breeds right. It's pretty cute. And then, of course, we have youth shows, which older people like myself who've been breeding for many years aren't able to participate in. So your kid can definitely participate in that if they choose to. There are also other things such as showmanship, which you will see at fair and stuff, where they say, oh, this is my bunny, such and such. This is their ear, their eye, their shoulder, their saddle, their loin, all that stuff. So you'll see that at 4-H if you've done 4-H in the past, or if your child is part of 4-H currently. We also have that, which you can go and do. And yeah, so it shouldn't be intimidating for kids. We really recommend kids being a part of this, because again, like I said, that's the only way our hobby is going to survive, is if new people continue to come in and enjoy themselves, aren't just pushed out as soon as they come in. Because breeders are just like, this is mine, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we're really not, most people aren't like that. There are, of course, a few people who are, but most people aren't. But you get to your first show. You have your bunny. What do I do next? I paid my entry fee. I went to the front desk and paid my entry fee. Well, now it's mostly a waiting game. I would suggest for your first show, bring like a little notebook or something, or they give you your entry sheets at the front desk. Keep that with a little pen, and then just take notes on what the judges comment. Ask the judges questions. Obviously, you're not going to learn everything. It's going to be very hectic and confusing, but you're going to learn something. And then the more shows you go to, you're going to continue learning more about your breed and what you're looking for. Ask other breeders that do the same breed as you, can you evaluate my bunny? Can you tell me, like, what's wrong with it, what's good with it, what buck or doe you would pair it with to make better offspring? The more questions you ask, the more you're going to learn. And it's definitely intimidating the first few times you go, but you'll learn as you go. Everybody is very nice. Everybody is willing to help, willing to teach you. I mean, people give you their phone numbers. I sold 2 bunnies and I gave both the kids who bought them from me my phone number because it's a difficult breed and there's not a lot of breeders who even breed this. Britannia Petite's not Holland Lops. You'll find Holland Lops everywhere. But yeah, so it's a difficult breed and I want more people to be a part of it with me because they're fun. They're a lot of fun. They, like I said, they are difficult, and that's why I wanted to give them my phone number, is because if they have any problems, I want them to know that I'm free for them to reach out to me. I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to be angry at them or whatever. I'm there to help. I don't want them to be discouraged and just be like, I'm done with rabbits. So that's not how the breed's going to survive. That's not how the breed's going to survive. That's not how the hobby's going to survive. But again, so I told you what ARBA stands for, kind of what it is on the show side, and what you're going to be doing on the show side. But ARBA deep down is, like I said, the betterment of the breed. So you could be breeding and showing and stuff and doing somewhat well, but if you're not teaching others and helping others to better their stock, you're not bettering the breed in general. You're not bettering the hobby. You're bettering yourself. And this is definitely a team-oriented organization. Is you can't just keep this information to yourself because you're not here to better yourself. That's not the point of this. Like, yes, shows are a lot of fun. It's awesome to win. It's super exciting. And it's a pain to keep making your stock better. It really is. It's difficult. So you're worried. Some breeders are worried that if they give that information out, they're not going to win anymore. They're not going to do well at shows. They're not going to, and again, I said some, very few. I've personally only met like 1 or 2 people in the decade I've been doing shows that are like that. It's very rare that you come across those people because everybody else in this hobby kind of agrees that this is a team sport. It's not all about you. It's about the rabbits. It's about making this breed better. It's about making them more structurally sound so that way they don't have arthritis when they get older, or they have very, very little arthritis. It's about taking away those genetic diseases. So if you have weak ankles, you want to strengthen those so that way they don't, and that's kind of part of structural soundness. Let's say more on the eyes side. If your rabbits carry cataracts, you want to get rid of that. You don't want to sell that. You don't want to sell that to somebody else for them to be like, oh, crap, I just bred this rabbit for 5 years and now it has cataracts. And so does its daughter, and so does its sons. So it's probably genetic. Great. Now this is 90% of my herd and now I need to sell it off or butcher it all because it's a genetic disease. Or a genetic issue. Or like the ears, instead of them being up here, like most rabbits, we want their ears to stay down. Which that's just more for a preference for the breed, because that's what a Holland Lop is. They're a lop. Making their spine, making their bones more dense and sturdy, so if they're hopping around, it's more difficult for them to break a leg or break their back. Like, it's just little things like that. And most of the time you don't think of that as you're breeding and showing, but it's part of that SOP standard. And that's what you're working for. So in turn, you end up helping that breed through those small little ways. And of course, there's other genetic issues and other things that you have to deal with, and you're just like, you want to stay away from it. And most breeders do. Of course, there are accidents like cataracts. 5 years down the road, how would you have ever known that animal carried that? Um, and then that's kind of a shucks issue. Or moon eye or walleye. And then of course you have splayed leg. You want to get rid of that because that's somewhat genetic. There's also other reasons that could happen. Or so her SOP specifically calls for very sturdy, thick bones in her legs and stuff. So she's supposed to look like a little bulldog almost, like a girl. And that's just going to help with bone density. That's going to make her more structurally sound. And then, of course, as they get older, if they have slopes in their backs and stuff like that, or a hooked spine or stuff like that, that's going to give them problems when they get older. It's going to make them uncomfortable. It's going to make their life more difficult as they get older. So you don't really think about it as you're breeding for that because it's already written in that standard. It's already written in that SOP. We have specific body types for a reason. It's because those work the best for the animals that we're raising. And of course ears, that doesn't really call for much. That's just that doesn't give much health problems or strengths. It's mostly that's just personal preference. Same with fur, how long the fur is, how soft it is, what the density is supposed to be on them. But I know Holland Lobs have a big issue because they have that smushed in face. They can have budding teeth and malocclusion, which can cause problems in the future because it makes it difficult for them to eat. However, if you breed properly and don't sell those animals to other breeders that carry that, you are still bettering the breed. If you breed properly, and let's say it pops up in your lines and you're like, ugh, best thing to do is cull it. Just get rid of it. Don't give the next person that chance to be like, oh, I want to breed all of a sudden. Let me breed my rabbit that has budding teeth. And then they sell all their litter, and that's when problems happen. But yeah, so that's the basics. I gave a few more examples than what I was intending to, but that hopefully helps on what ARBA is. And yes, shows are a ton of fun. If you want to come and show, whether you're in it for breeding or if you're just in it because you're like, maybe not, just come. It's free. It's free as long as you don't have rabbits entered. It's free to just come and check it out. Just look around. If you have one rabbit, it's usually like $4 a show. So toss $4 on the entry table and you're good. Of course, you have to enter them online. It's about a week, or it's usually a week before the show you're supposed to enter it, a few days before the show. It depends. Each show's different on what they want. But yeah, just check it out. Ask people questions. Come enjoy it. If you just have one rabbit, come and enter your bunny. Just enjoy the show. Listen to the comments the judges give you. And if you think it's fun and you want to keep doing it, come back. It doesn't matter if you're winning or not, if you're just enjoying the people around you. And if you really do get into breeding rabbits and you really start enjoying it, people are there to help you. They're there to give you advice. They're there to sell you better animals, to help your stock. So come and enjoy it with us, and see you at the next ARBA show. Have a great day. Bye.